All right, so let's talk about vibe coding. I want to explain what it is, how to use it, and the scope of what it can complete. I've seen a lot of discourse on X, and a lot of it's very toxic and directed towards people that are learning coding for the very first time, and that's really unfortunate. So let me explain. So vibe coding is essentially taking your code editor, we call it an IDE, and installing an LSP, right? So an LSP stands for Language Server Protocol. And what that does is it takes what you're writing and you're typing as code and it gives you suggestions of what you're trying to do. So let me give you an example. Like let's say you're writing a web server. What vibe coding allows you to do is simply type in words in English what you're trying to accomplish, and the LSP will fill in the code for you. So it's kind of giving you the illusion that it's writing a program. Now, the reason why it's called vibe programming is because it's supposed to stoke your creative inspirations, right? A lot of times in programming, you get caught up in the how do I do something? And vibe coding eliminates that buffer to a certain degree where it's able to give you fully running executable code, and that if you're running a simple program, it can complete it for you. Now, on to the problems. The problem here is that there's a lot of novice developers out there that think that vibe coding can supplant actually coding for real, right? Like at the end of vibe coding is going to output a fully functional program, right? That's not true. But on the flip side, it can give you a lot of insight how to structure, organize your code in a way in which is testable. You can deploy it. So I think vibe coding is an amazing thing that's hit our industry because it's lowering the barrier of entry for folks that just don't understand all of the syntax rules of a certain language. They really want to vibe out, right? They have a really great idea. They want to put it in code and they want to see it run. And I think vibe code does exactly that. But I think it falls short in terms of creating enterprise running level code. But I'll argue that was never the point of it. And so when you're seeing people online that are outspoken in a very aggressive way saying vibe coding is not real coding, it doesn't make anything useful, that's incorrect, right? It's a tool like everything else in our industry, and that you'll learn as you go through your journey is that you'll use a lot of tools. You'll use vibe coding, you'll use testing frameworks, you'll use UI frameworks, right? There's Figma, right? There's a lot of tools that we use in our day-to-day, and it's very odd that people specifically picked out vibe coding to attack. I'm guessing it's because there's a lot of newer people joining the industry, and I think a lot of people have a lot of animosity towards that, unfortunately. So if you are someone who is learning code for the very first time, I recommend learning vibe coding. Just simply Google it. You can get set up in 30 seconds and start vibing out.